Hola, molt bon dia a tothom. Benvinguts a aquesta roda de premsa per presentar l'espectacle de Hague. The Hague és una producció del Teatre Nacional Ivan Vazov, de Sofia. És un espectacle que ens arriba al festival d'una manera una mica especial. Hem conegut a l'equip del Teatre Nacional Ivan Vazov a través de la xarxa internacional, de la plataforma internacional Prospero New, que és l'última xarxa internacional en la que hem entrat, on hi ha 19 socis de 19 països diferents, i a les reunions, amb diferents trobades, hem contactat, i en un moment donat que ells tenien l'oportunitat de fer una gira d'aquest espectacle, que és un espectacle molt gran, que ve de lluny, que per tant hagués sigut una mica difícil portar a temporada alta, ens proposen incorporar-nos a una gira amb el suport del Ministeri de Cultura búlgar, i ens hi apuntem i estem encantats de presentar aquest espectacle, que és molt especial per diferents motius. Un és per l'origen, hem tingut molt poc teatre búlgar present a temporada alta. L'altre és per la temàtica, una temàtica radicalment actual i radicalment contemporània. Sabeu que és un espectacle amb la guerra d'Ucraïna de fons. De fet, és una mena de distopia on una nena somia o s'imagina un judici a Vladimir Putin en el Tribunal Internacional de la Haia. I també estem molt contents de tenir avui tant a l'autora com al director de l'espectacle. Ella és la Sasha Denisova, és una autora ucraïnesa que va escriure el text quan ja havia començat la invasió russa de Crimea. Encara no havia començat la guerra oberta, el que des d'Occident en diem la guerra d'Ucraïna, però per la gent d'Ucraïna ja estaven enfrontats amb Rússia. Una autora que ara mateix ara són a París. De fet, tots dos són a París a llocs diferents, però la Sasha ha pres com a residència a Barcelona. I el Galin Stoev, que és un director búlgar, però que ja fa uns anys que combina la seva feina en el seu país amb treballar a països més de l'oest, concretament a Bèlgica i a França. És on ha fet la part més gran de la seva carrera els darrers anys, i de fet encara està acabant el seu mandat, però encara és el director del Teatre de la Cité de Toulouse. Benvinguts tots dos a la roda de premsa. Passaré primer la paraula a la Sasha Denisova perquè ens expliqui una mica d'on ve aquest text, què és aquest text, que ens explicaran amb aquest The Hague, on veurem personatges públics com Vladimir Putin en escena, com uns dels personatges de l'obra. I després li passarem la paraula al Galin Stoev perquè ens expliqui una mica què ha fet, quin espectacle ha creat amb aquest text. Sasha, quan vulguis.
Okay, thank you. And about this play, so I'm very proud to have it now in Catalonia because I'm living there. And of course, so this piece was written in the first year of the war. And it was written just for European audience, not for Ukrainians or for Russians, because you and European people, they are not aware about these criminals. I mean, of course, you know Putin, but maybe you don't know very well his criminals. I mean, like Minister of Defense, like Shoigu, Kadyrov, and Matvienko. So a lot of people he's surrounding, and my goal was to explain to Europeans with which guys we have deal. So it's a bit, of course, it's like murderers, killers of the high level, but they are freaks at the same time. So they're ridiculous. They're sometimes they're stupid, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're absolutely awful and of course dangerous. But for me, my goal was to show them like funny in medieval European tradition, like medieval kings when the people beat them on the main square of the town. And in this way is like so I hope so it's European theater because it's satire of tyrant, and the same time it's documentary things because these criminals they speak like real people, like real these criminals. So their speech has this documentary quotes. And for me, it was very important to show them, to show, like, to imagine this imaginary justice for Putin, because in the first year of the war, it seemed more like real than now. Now it's like absolutely like utopia. We can see like these days, our Ukrainian government should have very difficult choice to accept this plan of 28 points, you know about that, for in negotiations with Putin or with Trump or something. So it's a historical point now, just now, and the Hague of Galin Stoev, this absolutely nice production, will be showed in Girona, like in this historical point. So it's a coincidence, but this is like a special moment of this war through 3.5 years.
I, Galin, ens expliques una mica com has muntat aquest text, com li has trobat el to, què és el que veurà una mica, una idea del que veurà el públic en escena a Girona aquest dissabte?
Okay, thank you and hello everybody, and thank you for inviting us to your festival. I should start with something which is a bit far away from the beginning of this project, and it's connected a bit with my background. So I'll talk about half a minute about myself. I excuse myself for that. I'm Bulgarian originally, but till age of 7 I lived in Moscow because my father was doing his studies there back then. So I grew up first learning Russian and then Bulgarian. And then afterwards I studied in different Russian schools, so I managed to keep the language. Then I started my career. I was working in Bulgaria, I was working all over Europe. And when the war started in Ukraine, I, like all theater makers all over the world, realized that I don't know anything about Ukrainian theater. So I started asking around some information, some names, and the name of Sasha Denisova came in different conversations, and I figured out that she was living in Poland, and she was working with refugees, with Ukrainian refugees, and with some actors there. So I went, I saw a wonderful piece of her she created there. We met, we talked, and a few months later she sent me a mail. She said she's writing this piece about Putin being in a trail in The Hague. I thought it was very very bizarre idea, seeing seeing what was happening in the world and with the war. And I went to see the piece, and she directed the piece in Poland, in Poznan. And it was a beautiful work. And when I went out of the performance, I knew that I have to work on this piece. Why? Because, well, since 20 years now, I was living in Belgium and in France, but I still go back to Bulgaria from time to time and do some work there because I have friends there. I know the theater sort of environment there. And when this war started, I got an extremely violent reaction in myself towards this war. and it was so violent that it was scary even for myself, and I didn't know where it came from. And then I realized that a big percentage of Bulgarian population was somehow pro-Putin even after the beginning of this war, which for me was very, very disturbing because I couldn't understand why. And I consider myself Bulgarian, and my mother tongue is Bulgarian, and I'm pretentious enough to think I know my country, and I realized that there is a part of the population, and it's very common for Eastern Europe countries, which were under Russian invasion somehow for a very long time, to have this Stockholm syndrome somehow. But I couldn't really understand it, and then I said, okay, I have to do this piece in Bulgaria, because I could have done it in France, but in France, you don't really need to explain so much to people who is the aggressor and who is the victim. So I called the National Theatre in Bulgaria and I said, I have a problem with you, but we have to do it immediately. So you all know when you start a theater project, it takes like 2 years from the moment you get the idea till the opening of the show. All this preparation, finding partners, working on the show, etc. Here, all this work, we managed to do it in 2 months only. Still knowing that it's politically, to stage this text in Bulgaria politically is very controversial. Almost dangerous somehow. We have one or two almost fascist parties in the parliament, nationalistic, extreme right, etc. So all this gave me the kick to insist on doing this piece on the biggest stage in Bulgaria, the National Theatre in Sofia. And I said to myself, it'll be a test to see whether this theater is politically dependent on something or not. And for my big surprise, the director and the National Theatre in general said, yes, come along. And we did the show. It was an incredible experience, because actually what Sasha wrote, she's inspired by the form of the medieval European farce, where you take the thing you are most afraid of and you try to laugh at it in order to deal with your own fear and with your own abyss somehow, and with your own darkness. And by this, you sort of overcome this fear. And I wouldn't call even this text a play. I would call it a construct or a structure which gives you a playground in which you could really experiment even on theatrical level. Because I myself, I don't remember I've done ever so-called political theater. I even didn't know what is political theater. Yeah, I know Brecht, but anyway, it's more of an idea than a concrete thing. And here, for the first time, and probably last in my life and in my career, I had this enormous chance to play with a structure which looks like a Shakespearean play in a way. But on stage, you have like at least 10 characters which are living people, like who act and who exist now. And you put this existing real people into completely imaginary situation, like the trial in The Hague, which nowadays probably will never ever happen. But nevertheless, your deep necessity for justice, our deep human necessity for justice, insists on the fact that we have to find a place, a space where this justice could take place, where this justice could happen. And paradoxically, nowadays, with everything which is going in the world, in a moment when the world looks much more crazy than any artistic invention could look like, probably the only real place remaining that this justice might happen is this theatrical stage. It's a theater performance, which is ridiculous in its way already. Like like a situation. But nevertheless, we as society, as species, we got to this point where we need an invented journey in the head of a little girl in order to reach the highest level of justice somehow. So, sorry, I talk too much, but to work on this text, which has so little distance with the reality, for me was an amazing experience, because at one point I remember the first performances in Sofia and the big shock where the audience got while watching to the show, because they even didn't know whether they should be afraid or they should laugh, whether they should cry or they should be joyful, and all this moment where all these realities crushed together and mixed together in one point was possible thanks to the theatrical machine, thanks to this absolutely invented reality, which is the theater. So this is how we work on this, and I will stop here because I'm talking too much.
No, encantats de les teves explicacions. De fet, obrirem, crec que no hi ha cap pregunta encara de la premsa, però obrim el torn de preguntes. I volia començar jo preguntant-li a la Sasha, aquest text està escrit al primer any de la guerra, en aquests últims anys han passat moltes coses a Ucraïna. Si hagués d'escriure el text ara, seria molt semblant al que va escriure a l'inici de la guerra?
Yes, a lot of things changed, especially when Galin, for instance, when he had rehearsals. I was in Washington, D.C., making some production about the war as well. And he called me and said, okay, Prigozhin died. Prigozhin, like Chivika Wagner, the lead of these absolutely cruel troops, he was killed by Putin, and I have a premiere in a few days, and you need to make something, or maybe I have sheets and he can enter to the stage like a ghost. Oh no, maybe I will rewrite that. I decided because and now Prigozhin formally he's dead. Yeah, formally he is not a live person, but he participates in this courtroom, in this all this deal around the courtroom. And Putin, for instance, in this play, in this new edition, he says to Prigozhin, okay, dear Evgeny Viktorovich, dear Prigozhin, you need for us alive here on the courtroom. And Prigozhin, like, it's his defense to be not alive. So it's like a comedian way to make some change that reality made before. But I decided, because now I'm doing this like theatrical reading in Paris of The Hague with French, Russian, and Ukrainian artists, and I decided, okay, now this play it's like a document of the war, because a lot of things changed. For instance, missiles and bombs in this play, sometimes it's not so like, okay, we hoped that weapon of Russia will be finished, will be ended up, but it's not true. My family, my mom lives in Kiev, and every day these bombs fall down to my mom and to my friends and to all Ukrainians every day. And unfortunately, when Putin has, I know, some negotiations in Budapest, nobody from European governments even doesn't have any thoughts to stop him, like to detain him and to arrest him. It's our reality. We are scared by Putin because he can put this button and nuclear war could be, I know, would start. Yeah, so it's I know. Now we live in some during this normalization of the war, and my goal, like an artist, to remind people in Europe that it's not normal to live under bombs. It's not normal to lose the smartest, the talented sons and daughters of Ukraine every day. And maybe it's a task of this piece to be showed for European audience, to express how cruel and restless the war is, and the war is going on now.
Gràcies. I abans de passar a la premsa, faig una pregunta totalment diferent al Galin. Per nosaltres és important tenir aquest espectacle, a part de per l'obra, per la temàtica, perquè és un espectacle que ve de Bulgària, que és teatre fet als països de l'est, amb un sistema de fer teatre molt diferent, amb companyies estables, amb repertoris en els teatres, etc. Aprofito que tenim en Galin aquí, i potser aquesta obra ens pot servir de referència, però una mica perquè ens expliqui la diferència entre treballar amb un ensemble d'un d'aquests països de l'est, en aquest cas de Bulgària, de Sofia, i treballar amb equips europeus que es fan i desfan més una mica per cada producció. Volia aprofitar que et tenim aquí i tu que has treballat a les dues bandes perquè ens expliquis una mica aquests temes més de producció artística.
Yeah, it's a very good question because it touches the bigger question of artist identity. And I had this issue and this problematic for a very long time because as a result of my constant shifting and moving from one place to another and working in different contexts, I realized that sometimes this context and these logics of producing theater and thinking the theatrical process in general, are so opposite that they exclude each other. And then you ask yourself, but where am I in all this, and where is my identity? And the big question is how you could adapt yourself to each context you try to create in and put up a piece, and nevertheless remain yourself, preserve your artistic identity. In Bulgaria, like in most of East European countries, partially in Germany as well, there is this structure of heavy subsidized state theaters, and each theater has its own theater company of actors. So every time you enter like in a big family and you have to deal with all the problems which one big family has, like a crazy aunt we never show when there are guests in the house, like brothers and sisters who hate each other and never talk to them to each other, or ex-husbands and wives who are in a war, and new couples, etc. So this is an interesting dynamics. Once you enter into it and you start working with it, you start sculpturing your future project with these kind of energies. And while I was working in this context, I was really envy the West European theatrical reality, where you get your team only for a specific project and everybody is devoted to this project. So they should not think that today I rehearse this, but tomorrow evening I play another show, and the day after tomorrow I play another show, etc. So again, it's a different dynamic. And once I started working in a Western European context, I realized that, yeah, it's beautiful and it's really nice to have this company for a certain period of time. But in the moment the project is over, all this is diluted and it disappears, and all this energy sort of ceases to exist somehow. So there is very much ephemeral quality of this. While if you go back to Eastern European theatrical reality, you still have the crazy family there with all the crazy dynamics in it. And in a term of duration, it's longer, and you could build up things with a bigger perspective. And finally, I think there's no an ideal situation. You know, I hate each situation in which I work, and for me, it's always very important to have an emergency exit next to me so I can always run away into another reality. But I think it's my personal problem of splitting identity somehow. But what is beautiful is that finally it's our European reality somehow, and United Europe is not a state, it's not a country. That's why we cannot have an adequate answer to something awful like the war in Ukraine, or the taxes of Donald Trump, or any other thing, because we're not one country, and in order to take a decision, it takes like ages. So the European Union is a strange animal somehow, but there is this richness, at least in the theatrical world, and I'm one of the few who could profit to this thing, and I'm really blessed and grateful for this experience. And I think that it's something we should develop more, and we should learn how to change concerning the context we're in, and because all this richness makes the universe grow bigger somehow, and our consciousness as well, and the way we got on a high level of consciousness as well. This is through being confronted to all these different realities somehow, and realize that nevertheless the way we organize and structure the theatrical process in different countries, theater nevertheless remains this very tiny territory of pure freedom. And this is what makes us equal and very much alike, no matter the country. Theater people are unconsciously looking for this freedom, no matter the context they're working in. And this is what I learned so far, and I'm very happy for this.
Moltes gràcies. Crec que ara sí que hi havia alguna pregunta.
Sí, tenim diverses preguntes. L'Alba Carmona del Diari de Girona pregunta: quan parla d'aquesta desena de personatges reals que apareixen en escena a banda de Putin, quins altres actors polítics hi reconeixerà el públic?
Sasha.
It's for me. Of course, now in jail, like the just 10 criminals. Of course, it's not enough, but it's a big production for like 18 actors, so we cannot find any more. So I should have done just 10 criminals on this courtroom. It's Shoigu, Minister of Defense, Kadyrov, the head of Chechen Republic, Matvienko, the head of how it called, Council of
the Russian Parliament.
Russian Parliament, yes, but Russian Parliament doesn't exist, but you know. So it's the closest colleagues of Putin. They stole a lot of money because this power, it's not about like renovation of Soviet Union or Russian Empire or something. Firstly, it's about money, power, like billions of money. I know, billions of billions of billions. So they're pretty rich. And everyone has been bought by Putin for huge money, and of course they support him even in this jail, even in this imaginary prison, because they are intimidated by Putin, like whole world, actually. So Matvienko, Kadyrov, Surovikin, he was like former commander-in-chief, but now he's in Africa. But
Prigozhin?
Prigozhin, yeah, was killed by Putin, and he fall down from the aircraft during this crash after his pretty brave attack to Moscow when he decided to captivate. I know what he decided, but it was like pretty brave kick to pretty brave attack. But I don't know, it was so fast. Maybe we now Europe maybe doesn't remember about Prigozhin, but Prigozhin was important. Who else, Galin?
Simanyan?
Simanyan, the main propagandist of Putin.
Yes.
She is like famous journalist. She pronounces everything that Putin wants in the TV shows every day.
Patrushev?
Patrushev. Patrushev is the biggest like secret hidden figure of Putin's government because he was a chief of KGB after Putin. Sorry.
FSB, KGB.
FSB, yes, and he's like a bit like Agent 007 because he is obsessed by theory conspiracies theories about how the West prepared this war, how they're surrounded by West, and all this series about secret plan of United States to captivate, to siege to siege Russia, and blah blah blah. And yes, almost.
Kovalchuk? Surkov?
Kovalchuk, yes. Surkov was like an intellectual, had intellectual. He was the brain of this plan to occupy Ukraine, and he whispered a few years to Putin that Ukraine waited for us, waited, but it of course it was not true. It was not truth, and Kovalchuk, he actually Russia and all like financial field is belonged to Kovalchuk because he is the main, he's the head of Bank Russia and whole Russia as well. So he's a banker, yeah. He's a banker, yeah.
Yeah, he's a financial.
Financial, yeah, like wallet of Putin.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
Tenim més preguntes. En Magí Camps, de La Vanguardia, pregunta que assumir una nena vol dir que és una visió des d'un punt de vista infantil?
Actually, I think it's a very clever trick applied by Sasha because it's somehow like a really trash version of Alice in Wonderland, but this time is Alice who will go through hell, and we will see that all these crazy characters from Alice in Wonderland could be really actually existing people in our reality. in the reality of the war. And actually, the fact that it's a girl who will link all these pieces of reality gives the possibility, purely theatrical possibility, to constantly jump in the play story from a fairy tale like to a documentary to a horror colors of the story into something which could be really playful and funny. So what is really paradoxical in this tissue of the play is that you could change the genre, and it's possible because there is not just a girl, but there is a look of a child which by itself is innocent. And because of this innocent quality of this look of this child, the story becomes even more troubling, because we all as adults are concerned, and we all as adults are obliged to give an answer to this child gaze. And we realize that we all as adults, we don't have an answer, because we don't grasp the reality fully, and we don't control it. And then the responsibility falls back on us again with the heaviness which is doubled by this gaze. So I think this is the main role of the presence of the child, and because we need a narrator, and because we know that most probably this trail will never ever happen in our reality, then the imagination of the child becomes the only weapon we have in order to stand for the justice somehow. And it's in a way paradoxical, extremely desperate, very funny, and probably the only place where we can squeeze out some hope for ourselves.
Vale, tenim més preguntes, diverses preguntes, de la Marta Cervera del periòdico. Pregunta, la nena de l'obra de quina nacionalitat és? I també pregunta on es veurà l'obra a part de Girona.
The girl is Ukrainian, of course. It's an Ukrainian girl, and actually she's making these links between these different fragments of reality, but actually she's telling her story. And we realize at the end of the play what is the real story of this girl. And I'm not going to tell you because it will be a spoiler, but you could only imagine. The play is regularly performed in Sofia and at Ivan Vazov National Theatre once or twice a month. Sometimes we have productions with English subtitles as well. And the play was traveling. We played in a few festivals across Europe. I think they are looking for at least one more festival, because they still have some financing to go to play on another festival. But actually, this is the problematic thing about European and Western European sort of structuring, is that everything takes so long in order to get to a festival, to negotiate with them, to get the dates. It takes like years, it takes ages. And actually, what all these festivals haven't still realized it, that time runs differently now, and the paradigm changes and everything changes. So we have to adapt and we have to change if we really want to remain in the avant-garde of some intellectual thought that remains in Europe still. And I believe that it's possible still. But it's especially in France, it really takes ages, and it's really frustrating. While we're in a situation when this production should be played now, like tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, And it's very difficult to find a festival which is flexible enough to react at this situation in an adequate way, you know. And I'm not blaming anybody. It's just the sad reality in which we're existing. But I think things are changing and things are moving, and I hope we'll get much more adequate in theater in general, not only on aesthetical and intellectual level, but even on logistic level.
La Marta Cervera del periòdico també pregunta quina ha sigut la reacció que més us ha sorprès per part del públic?
Sasha?
Okay, for me, it was really like during the premiere in Sofia, it was like a big victory, big, I know, a challenge at the same time, because when I turned out in this overcrowded audience hall in Sophia's theater, I saw around me just officials. It was men in suits because all the government of Bulgaria was there. A lot of diplomats, a lot of like pretty serious guys in suits. It was, oh my God. And we with Galin was warned about so some pro-Putin's party would have come to this performance, and we were a bit like not intimidated, but a bit like okay, prepared. But no, they didn't provoke. They were on this performance, and it was like Brechtian, like victory for Brecht, maybe for Bertolt Brecht. It would be I don't know. So it was a expression of real political theater, how it could be, because when you have such satirical political piece in empty hall, it's not a big deal, yeah. But if you have all government like your audience, oh yeah, it's powerful. It's really powerful. So for me, it was this reaction. For me, it's this reaction. And when Putin entered to the stage, absolutely nice Bulgarian actress, because in this play, Putin should be acted as a woman. It's a male role because it's polar as well. But you can see, so Putin is like a bit Russia, the Russian Empire, or like in Alice in Wonderland, Black Queen, something like that. And when Putin entered in Sophia's performance on the stage, a few officials made some like, oh, ah. So it was like, okay, maybe they saw Putin alive before, because it was like, oh my God, this is a Putin on the stage. How it could be? Yeah, it was remarkable for me. For you, Galin?
I cannot name one reaction. Of course, I had a lot of people who were deeply shaken and I don't know the English word. The French is bouleversé, and they didn't expect this. They really didn't expect this, and I've never seen a moment of reality where the absolutely fantasy world, what is a theatrical production, completely useless and invented reality of some adults who are playing like kids on stage and other adults are watching them. And at the same time, mixing this reality with something which is so palpable and so real. And even at the end, I was so angry against this war that at the end I wanted to, during the bowing, I wanted to have a sign on stage to the audience saying, and please remember that while you're watching this performance, there are people at the same very moment dying under the bombs. But then they stopped me because they said, okay, Galin, enough, because, you know, don't push it too much. You know, it's obvious and people see this and people feel this. But actually, there's almost alchemic sort of mixture of invented reality and very palpable and brutal and cruel reality of the war. I've never experienced such a thing before, and I'm not sure I would ever experience it, because I think it's a chance you get as an artist once in a lifetime. But for me, this was the deepest thing, and this deep feeling during the opening and afterwards, that we're participating in something really important, that it's not just theater, you know. And this was a pretty powerful moment to live and to share together.
Tenim més preguntes. La Marta pregunta a la Sasha en concret, està una mica relacionada amb l'anterior pregunta, diu si s'ha sentit amenaçada o vigilada després de fer l'obra.
We expected some provocations, and at the opening there were a couple of individuals who came from this fascist country, which is called Renaissance in Bulgarian, Возрождение, and who tried to sort of to make some indignation or some noise when the show started. But actually the audience around was so captivated that all this sort of reaction of these individuals sort of diluted itself and disappeared on its own. And then through different performances, I've seen some individuals who are publicly known for a very radical positions. I saw them in the audience. I saw a very radical journalist, pro-Russian, pro-Putin and all this in the audience. They stayed till the end. They never clapped at the end, but they still stayed till the end, and they left very angry. But actually the whole experience is so powerful that they didn't have a reaction, an opposite reaction, which could be at the same level of confrontation. So, and I would give it to the account of power of art somehow. I don't know how to say. It's not that our theater play is magnificent or whatever. It's not about me. It's not about even Sasha. It's about using all these theatrical tools to touch something on the level of society which cannot be touched or explored neither from politicians nor from the media, no from the reality on the street. So it's something that gives back to art its primal power to shape the reality. And I really believe in this, and because I experienced it, I saw it through this experience with Sasha's text, and yeah, of course you get tons of shit in the media, on social media or whatever, but no, I never felt really threatened, or probably I'm stupid enough not to think about this thing. And so far, these extreme right elements didn't really dare to do anything. But again, I had a couple of times during the rehearsals, I had one actor who left five days before the opening because he was afraid that he will get poisoned with Novichok by the KGB guy, because he was playing the KGB guy. So I had to change him 5 days before the opening, which was a completely hysterical situation. But you know, all these are more anecdotes. But no, I didn't have anything. No, I didn't feel this. Or even if I felt, I didn't care. I I, I was living my hero moment for 10 minutes, and it was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Una altra pregunta, Paula?
Hi ha un parell de preguntes més, de la Marta també. Pregunta, volia saber en el judici quanta gent es jutja i si podeu anomenar qui són aquestes persones.
Yeah, there were 10, and we just named them. It's Putin, Matvienko, Kovalchuk, Surkov,
Shoigu,
Shoigu, Surovikin,
Patrushev.
Patrushev, Margarita Simonyan, Prigozhin, and Kadyrov.
Yeah.
10. And then in the trial there are some soldiers, but they are like invented characters. But all this is derived from real documents, because around 40% of the text is a documentary text. Actually, these are words really pronounced, really said by all these characters in different interviews, and yeah.
Per l'última, Paula, doncs.
Sí, finalment la Marta pregunta si és que esteu preparant alguna cosa més després d'aquesta obra.
Me? So, okay, because now I'm living in Barcelona, I'm starting some new project in Barcelona, maybe even in Catalan language, about the war, and not just about the war, like about Europe as well. And I hope that my new place that I wrote in Barcelona could be staged in Barcelona. And I have some negotiations with Catalan theater about like staging my another play. It's about the war, my mama, and the full-scale invasion. It was staged in Europe and in Barcelona and in United States, but now in Catalan language. So I'm very interested. I'm very curious about like to be staged in Catalan and for locals, because for me it's important to have conversation with local audience. And now I love Barcelona, and for me, like Barcelonian people, I'm curious about them. But now I have a new play about the war, the Golem, and a few days ago it was a premiere in Amsterdam. So it's about the war, but in another shape. Because it's very important to speak with Europeans in some usual and convenient for them shape. Because suffering of another crowd, even if you even if you have patience, so it's not, you cannot do it always. But like in the Hague case, if you wrap in some sweet shape, like a candy, something very bitter, like drama, like tragedy, it could be eaten. It could be eaten. And The Hague, this is a play that drifting from the sweetest form, like comedy, to tragedy, and maybe it could be touching for Catalan audience. I hope so.
And I should just add that Sasha is a playwright, but Sasha is a director as well. So she works with actors, and often she writes and then she stages her own work. And it's a really very interesting work. And I encourage all of you to follow her work. And I think it'll be really good if she finds more partners in Catalan context, theatrical context, because she's one of the important Ukrainian and European artists that need to be supported nowadays. So I encourage you all to do this.
Thank
Voilà.
you. Okay.
Okay. Missatge rebut. Moltes gràcies, Galin, moltes gràcies, Sasha, i moltes gràcies a tots per ser en aquesta roda de premsa i ens veiem l'obra el dissabte, el proper dissabte al Teatre Municipal de Girona. Gràcies a tots i adeu.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We see all of you Saturday, I hope.